Pinkerton's Ghosts is a horror anthology podcast by Superversive Radio, with no affiliation with any detective agency, person, real or imagined, or the dark forces of Outre Terre. It is not intended for children.
Jack Morrow here. The first reports of a mall Santa trying to cut strange deals in a Louisianan store display led nowhere. Every time it was a temp agency just trying to make sure that schedules were kept and kids got their picture with Santa. Every time the Santa asked what the kid would pay to get onto the nice list. And wouldn't they like to have a bike too? The kids were given back to their parents when my target was discovered to be fake, and no one went with him despite his promises. There was a bit of confusion where the parent knocked over one of Santa's helpers. Somehow the Santa got away, leaving a stuffed crocodile plushie for the child as a consolation prize. They did not take the stuffed animal with them. If it wasn't for the specificity of the deals, of naughty lists removed, and puppies promised and bullies punished, all for a handshake or a price to be collected later, it wouldn't be much. Nothing you were using, the man promised the children. The parents were almost supernaturally loath to let the man complete any deals with their children. It took 2 weeks to gather enough data to Paranormal Pinkerton standards. I was looking for an overweight African-American man, white hair, yellow-white eyes with black pupils. He had a white goatee that looked almost genial with his thick lips and wide smile. He even had a button nose and dimples. I can't say any of that is hard to come by in Louisiana. With the Christmas season over, even what leads I had dried up. He fulfilled the temp positions, but there wasn't a record of his employment. He showed up on days they were needed, with the right ID, the right words. Flicking through the pictures now, even his temperament seems a little different each time. A little stoop here, or an excited shout there, just enough to confuse people looking for him. He wore a brown suit with a golden pocket watch, when not in Santa uniform. Halfway through the investigation, I changed tactics. He had been noticed through the shenanigans involving the Santa impersonation, but that could not be where he started. I used our police credentials to get access to security cameras. Hits all over. A black man trying to make a deal before his shift in the red suit. His patterns could be tracked. I tracked him down to Shreveport. Here, the problem was that there were too many hits to locate him. He seemed to be everywhere, offering deals and talking with the homeless, the drug addict, the poor. Where was his home base? What was happening to his victims? There were plenty of missing people, some of whom he had talked to, others the regular kind of tragedy. It took too long before I found a toothless old salt calling himself Virgil. I had been warned about him by police and homeless alike. Some of the other homeless had gone missing, and he had been the last one to see them. However, his alibis always worked out. He just happened to be unlucky, circumstantially there. There are no circumstances. I knew the type. Life had trodden him down and he was willing to do anything for money. I took a small wad with me. I handed him $20. Yes, he was willing to talk about the man in the brown suit, Ezekiel Jenkins. Yes, sir, I know him. He's older than me, and I got my education under Johnson. How often do you see him around these parts? I saw him yesterday. He was talking with Marguerite. I told him not to go with old Ezekiel, but he did anyway. Did you hear what Ezekiel Jenkins said to him? No, but he offers the same old thing. What you want? Vague-like. You put your own meaning into it, but he never gives it to you. It's like a contract that promises money to somebody but never says who. I haven't seen that Marguerite since. It's horrible. I saw Ezekiel work once. Is that right? I rubbed the money under my fingers. That's right. He was still doing that Santa thing. He tries that every year, but I don't know if anyone takes that. No one is dumb enough to let him take the kids. Where I don't know if He looked at me slyly. Tell me what you saw, old man. I handed him a 20. He took it with glee. Sure, yes. I remember. I followed him down because he had tempted away Miss Classy. See, I might have hung around her a bit. She didn't have any protection. It's not easy out here. I stared at him blankly. He coughed and continued. He talked to her and offered her money to come with him. I should say he offered to take her where money is. He promised other things, too. Things that made her cry. Things that broke her down worse than some John spitting on her and telling her what she was. He doesn't flash wads, but he showed her a mirror, and she cried and cried. It wasn't a great night out there, and we were huddling under a bridge watching it all. Well, eventually he picks her off her knees and offers her his hand. She takes it weeping. Old Ezekiel Jenkins smiles and smiles. See, he can't force it on you. You gotta come willingly, or not at all. I don't know their deal, really. I assume it was money, because that's all Miss Classy wanted in life. I wanted too, you know. You're saying it could have been anything else? That's right. But I thought it was money then, and, well, like I said, Miss Classy would help us out. I followed her all the way to a crossroads where a man was hung for murdering a girl before his day in court, before I was born. It's the one that leads to the swamps and petty lakes on one side and the cemetery on the other. A very likely place, the kind of place where someone will tell you the time and place of your death, or if you sleep too close, you'll see something man ain't supposed to see and your hair turns white. If you take a rock, you have bad luck till you put it back. Can't throw it away. Gotta put it back. And Miss Classy? I was getting to that. Don't be impatient. He stuck his nose away from me in high dudgeon until I handed him 2 more 20s. That's right. Look, Miss Classy comes up. There's something that was never there before. A gambling parlor. It was just there, and then it wasn't there before, and it wasn't there after. Maybe it's always there, but you don't have eyes to see it until it wants to be found. Anyway, I follow Miss Classy up to the steps. I call out to her, but she doesn't answer. I take 1 step, and the step creaks like the wail of the dead. Old Ezekiel Jenkins looks at me and smiles. Oh, how he smiled. It was a crocodile smile like crocodile tears. Nothing to it. Too many teeth. All the way to his ears. I walked up each step, and each step shrieked like I had stepped on someone's face. And maybe I had. The inside was broken down, but when Miss Classy stepped near, it burst to life. Tables rolling and ghosts gambling like they did in life. The roulette tables spun and all ends were being called. Then she'd step away and it would be lifeless again, and the groans. Oh man, you ain't ever heard a gambling parlor weeping so. Like all of them lost their life savings as soon as the living human walked away. I stayed at the door. Places like that, if you go in, you can't go out lest you a priest. I hugged the doorposts. Miss Classy was led up to the big stage, and on that stage was a big prize wheel. Now when she got up to the dais, Ezekiel Jenkins was already there. He lifted a microphone, it wasn't attached to anything, and the whole thing burst to life like Miss Classy was walking near it, except quiet. All them ghosts were watching her. This is what the old devil said while he pranced about like a minister on the Sunday after payday. Ladies and gentlemen, Sister Classy here. She is in a predicament. She is trapped by her sin and shame and wants money to get out of it. She wants a ticket to ride out of her life and into a real smoke show one. Isn't that right? And all the ghosts and ghouls and jackanapes laughed and laughed. Miss Classy just stood there, crying. He jumped from table to table, calling and raising ghosts. They came up from the floor, the ceiling with the nooses still around their neck. Gators came in from the holes under the floor, and they opened their mouths, and ghosts rose up from their teeth. I can't bear it. Old Ezekiel Jenkins winked at me when he vaulted a drinks grill to make his way to the big old dais. Then he said to Miss Classy, who wept all the time, he said, "Now, lady, here are the rules to our little game. You have the same chance for all of these, and look here, some of these even give you more than you're asked for. Better." I couldn't read the wheel, but some of them had numbers on them, and others symbols like diamonds. 1 or 2 burned red. And the cost, my little lady, my poor lost lamb, is service here after you pass on. I always need pretty girls for my patrons. They get thirsty. It's a hard work, gambling and a cavorting. And all the horrible things assembled laughed. But it wasn't honest laughter, it was ironic-like. It wasn't good laughter, it was like when a pig is about to beat you for sleeping in the park, or a guy drops change out of your cup to watch you scrounge it up. Bastards all. The devil let them laugh and said, "Miss Classy lady, would you spin the wheel?" She was trembling and asked, "How many win?" Ezekiel put his arm in her crook and moved her to a certain spot. "Aw, shucks, Miss Classy. Everyone gets a chance at what they asked for. You'll get the same chance as all these sinners and saints. When you spin, it'll spin and arrive at your reward. Nothing less than what you deserve. Tell me, do you deserve a better life?" Now Classy was struggling on her feet, and she said, "I want what I deserve." Then she stamped her feet. "I deserve money. I should have had a different life. I don't want to be a whore no more. Let me spin. I've got a different life coming to me. A better one. One where I don't have to worry about pimps and johns and where I gotta sleep. I want what's coming to me." And she spun the wheel. Ezekiel stepped back. All the ghouls and ghosts and skeleton waitresses cheered and cheered. The ceiling and roof creaked. The gambling house shuddered like it was having a seizure. And Miss Classy starts to cheer. Then the wheel starts to slow. The sinners at the tables and then the maws of the scaly beasts all go silent. But Miss Classy, she keeps cheering. The wheel starts to slow down little by little. Damn! And it lands on one of the red ones. All the lights turn red, and it's silent while I breathe. Miss Classy screamed as she fell through a trapdoor, and all those there start screaming, hooting, and hollering like before. Ezekiel jumps to the dais and roars with the rest. "Oh, wasn't Miss Classy a class act?" he said, winking at his customers. "And she'll be an amazing bar girl. A drop of water on the tongue, all round. Maybe next time, someone will win the grand prize. If not, well, another gambler, another fine pair of legs, another sinner will always find a home here." Virgil shook, and I saw one of the girls dipping her fingers into the swamp water and placing it on the tongue of the wicked dead. It was Miss Classy. She wasn't even weeping. She wasn't there. She was a part of 'em. "Take me to the crossroads." "Oh, I can't do that." And he opened his palm to me. The crossroads was an unholy place. The cemetery was forgotten, the raised beds without mark or family crest. The swamp smelled like drowned bodies and disease. On one tree was a marker for someone who had lost control and died while driving. On another was a marker for the lynching. Like the rest, it was rusted to decay. The old homeless man looked around. "It was right here." "I can tell." I could see the building, thanks to my eyes. This was a trick of the Autre Terre. It only came out on nights when Ezekiel plied his trade in death and souls. It sat in the swamp water, sleeping, its rotted timbers sunk into the water, and all the windows cracked and broken. Inside I could see bodies slumped over tables and stools, some in something like peaceful repose, others clutching at wounds I couldn't guess at. At the back, against the bar, were the dead and rotting bodies of some 10 women in exotic outfits, like string-cut puppets. Their flesh sagged, their mouths gaped. Flies covered the freshest, the worst. "Well, it was supposed to be right here." Some things clicked in my head. "He's supposed to reward you for someone coming up here, isn't he?" Virgil froze. He bobbled this way and that like he was trying to dodge bullets. Look, I've had a hard life, and he's a scary thing, and when he offers you a deal, you deny him." "Oh, I don't know. With that wheel, you can win at the wheel. I know you can. His money always spins. It ain't fake." I opened the trunk of the Unismasher. I pulled out a bottle, some rags, and kerosene. It has been a minute since I had to use my arson kit. It felt good. "Would you bet on the wheel, Virgil?" "I mean, I wouldn't, but I bet I would win. Someone's gotta win these things someday, right?" I made a quick and dirty Molotov mix and shook it up. I hated the old homeless man. I couldn't have been the first. Or the first he had brought to sacrifice to Ezekiel Jenkins. "You would take it, wouldn't you, Jack? Come on, all that money and the wheel. It's real. He showed me." "When you gave him Miss Classy?" No, I did not do that." He waved his arms around in a show. "Or told him about her. Whatever. Go on, spin the wheel." "What?" "I said, spin the wheel. If you win, don't you? Miss Classy just lost. Marguerite too, I bet. That means the luck reset. The luck of the devil, Virgil. The gambling house is right there. It's just invisible, because it isn't yet time for Ezekiel to prance and sermonize, because we're not invited, but the wheel is always there to spin. Are you saying the wheel is powerful? Like it ain't Ezekiel that's special? I walked up behind Virgil. The dead were staring back at us. Some stared under the crook of their elbow, others pretended not to, but they did. The bar girls' heads were all up and facing the door, 20 sightless eyes on old Virgil in front of me. I'm saying the wheel is always there for any sinner to spin. Go on. I've seen these things before. The ticket's always there to take. Go on. I see it. $1 million. $100,000. $666. A new life, Virgil. Yours for the taking. Virgil stared at the empty space of the house. It was half in the outre-terre. An elf could see it, a baptized man couldn't see it, but he would avoid it without knowing why. Virgil? It called to him, surely. Well, it's not like Ezekiel is here, right? It shouldn't hurt, Virgil mumbled to himself. I just won't stand on the trapdoor. I'll get a spin and my money. And then the sun turned into that particular blood red of sunset over water. The gambling den burst to life. It wasn't there, and now it was in front of us. It's starting, Virgil. Before the master comes in, take your spin. I gave him a shove. The ghouls and ghosts looked like men again. The waitresses looked like pretty girls. The smell of rot was gone. Instead, I smelled tobacco, weed, and worse things. Oh, there it is. I'll take the spin. I'll take my spin. I deserve it. I've had a hard life. Life owes me. And Virgil ran up the stairs, each one shrieking like a damned man. He was cheered as he entered the room. They lifted their cracked and empty glasses to him, and Miss Classy smiled as she put a glass of rot gut into Virgil's hands. He was shouting and cavorting as he ran to the great big wheel at the center of the back of the room. His homeless vestments waved around, dropping shivs and bottles and a box of Newports. His cragged face was alight in ecstasy. They don't know better, do they? Ezekiel Jenkins walked up beside me. I shot him with one of Jim's special holy water shotgun shells. The black man in the fine brown suit coughed, then shouted. The strikes glowed as the subsonic rounds splattered him with buckshot and holy water. I shot him again, and the rotund man fell, big lips flapping as he tried to say something. He wasn't dead yet. I threw my first cocktail onto the second-floor balcony. The whole thing went up into flames so fast you'd think it was made of fire. I lit the second and threw it over the roof. I heard the bottle shatter, and the fire spread to the gutters falling off either side. Virgil, come out of there! Virgil was shouting and dancing on the dais. Miss Classy, sorry girl, you was stupid. Marguerite, you couldn't gamble to save your life. I'm going to game the system. It's me. This is my time. My way. And he spun the wheel. Virgil! I did not enter the gambling house. I called him out. Come on out, Virgil. I'm burning it down. I led so many here and all they do is lose. They were losers. I'm the winner here. I'm going to win. I'm going to win this time. A chandelier fell on the left roulette table, pinning 5 ghouls and 2 of the bar girls. Virgil! Shucks. He ain't coming out. The large man was up and he was trying to limp away. I shot Ezekiel again in the lower back. I stomped on the wound to keep him from running. I'm going to win! The wheel spun and spun until it stopped on the red panel without fanfare or noise. No, that's not fair. That's not fair, he shouted and stomped, jumping up and down on the stage. As Virgil did, he didn't see the ghosts coming up behind him. What are you doing? Stop! Get away from me, you losers! I'm still alive! I'm still alive! Two larger men in hobo outfits, white gloves, and bowler hats stuck their arms under his shoulders and lifted him off his feet. They walked forward. Now the back wall was on fire. The wheel spun under its own power, then collapsed, striking the stage and ripping through the rotten floorboards. A maw of fire and brimstone burst up, splashing the walls and increasing the fire tenfold. No! It's so hot! I was supposed to win! Luck just can't kick a man in his whole life! God owes me! I was a good man. I deserve to win! And with that, the two men jumped in the fire with Virgil between them. Classy, the least rotted of the waitresses, went in next. Then another bar girl, and all the other women. A bartender followed the last girl, then a croupier, and a handful of gamblers, all clutching a broken bottle in their hands, and the rest jumped down after them. Lastly, the alligators, with their ghosts in their mouths, belly-walked down into the portal. Yet the fire burned hotter. I fired a shot into Ezekiel's head. The body disappeared, but his ghost floated at the porch swing of the gambling house. His neck was crooked and broken, but his clothes still remained the fine brown suit he was wearing when he plied his ghostly trade. He floated into the fire and then down the destroyed gambling tables and up the stairs into the dais, and patting the wheel, he descended into the fire. The fire burned for only a few minutes. I had a feeling that while he had been the major thing in the crossroads, there were other predators roaming these roads, and I'm no exorcist. I left after making sure that Virgil was truly gone, and wasn't just floating in the reeds. Please send my compliments to the Archdiocese of New Orleans, and ask for them to come to these coordinates and ensure total ghost annihilation. Jack Morrow, out.
Pinkerton's Ghosts is a podcast distributed by Superversive Radio, licensed under an attribution non-commercial, share-alike international license. This episode was written by Ben Wheeler and is performed by the same. Ben Wheeler edits, directs, produces, and herds cats. Kid Dickerson performs our audio editing. Visit us on Facebook, read articles on superversivesf.com, or listen to us on unauthorized Acast, iTunes, or Spotify. Contact us through Twitter at @PinkertonsGhosts, email us at pinkertonsghosts@gmail.com, or send us noble messenger possums with messages strapped to their backs. Don't worry, they know how to find us. Thank you for listening, and good luck.